Welcome to an incredible exploration of the universe's hidden architecture. Picture this, literally in 4K cinematic quality in your mind's eye. A breathtaking, mystical moon suspended in a deep, endless cosmic sky. Its light is slowly waxing and waning, and it's doing so under this constant, watchful divine gaze. And far below, humanity is walking through this shifting landscape of light and shadow. Some of us are staying securely within that protective beam, while others are drifting, kind of wandering dangerously into the darkness. Today, we are unpacking a deeply interconnected, visual Kabbalistic framework of the universe. We're looking at foundational texts from the Zohar, Sephirot, and Share Kedusha to uncover this majestic system of divine oversight, vulnerability, and guidance.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our map for today: the cosmic balance, Sephirot, and divine colors, Malchut, the mystical moon, fluctuations of lunar light, human action and cosmic impact, and finally, maintaining divine alignment.
Section 1. The Cosmic Balance.
So to really grasp how the universe operates, we've got to rewind all the way back to the very beginning, the primordial state of the universe. In the profound text of the Sephirot, the Book of Concealment, we're introduced to this mind-blowing concept called the Kabalah, the ultimate primordial balance or scale. The text literally says, Ta nada'a dala hava matkela. We learn that until the balance was established, the early worlds were chaotic. Think of it like early prototype software. Before this matkala was actually coded into existence, these early chaotic worlds literally collapsed. They shattered because they lacked essential harmony. They just didn't have the architecture to process infinite divine energy.
The text goes on to explain that before the balance, they did not look face to face. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, in terms of cosmic engineering, it means the universe requires continuous, supervised alignment to survive. It's exactly like a divine firewall or a continuous system monitoring protocol. When the divine faces look at each other, the system is actively monitored. It's perfectly aligned, receiving a constant flow of protective life force. Without that continuous gaze, the entire system crashes. No firewall, no security, just collapse.
Moving right along to Section 2, Sephirot and Divine Colors. So, how exactly is this perfectly balanced divine energy channeled down to us? It gets stepped down through a mystical network called the Sephirot, which manifests to us as light and color. The Sephirot are the divine attributes, or emanations, through which the infinite, the Ein Sof, interacts with our finite universe. If the divine is pure, blinding, uncontainable light, the Sephirot act exactly like a cosmic prism. They step down the voltage so our reality isn't completely overwhelmed. In our tech analogy, the Sephirot are the universe's foundational operating system. They're the source code dictating the flow of existence, numbered 1 through 10, representing a perfect, complete cycle of divine emanation.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how these abstract concepts are mapped out visually through color. We see this in texts like Or Nerav and Pardes Rimonum. Look at this breakdown. Hesed is absolute grace and mercy, right? Represented by pure white light. Gevura is judgment and restriction, represented by red. Tiferet is harmony, which is a greenish mixture of the two. And then down at the very bottom we have Malchut. Malchut is pure receptivity, represented by black, blue, or sometimes a composite of all the colors combined. Because here's the secret, Malchut actually has no color of its own. It literally only reflects what it receives from above.
Which brings us to Section 3, Malchut, the mystical moon.
This is the absolute core focal point of our explainer today. Malchut, the 10th and final Sephirot, is beautifully represented in Kabbalistic thought as the cosmic moon. As the Zohar states, Kad bara kuchabrihu le'sihera, when the Holy One created the moon. The moon is the ultimate symbol for Malchut. Let's contrast it with Tiferet for a second. Tiferet acts as the cosmic sun. It generates and gives divine light. But Malchut, the moon, it has absolutely zero light of its own, none. It is purely receptive and reflective. Going back to our tech analogy, if Tiferet is the cloud server holding all the original data, Malchut is the monitored output interface. It's the screen reflecting that higher light all the way down to our lower worlds. The text from Or Nerav tells us explicitly, Malchut includes all colors. Her main hue is white light from Tiferet, a moon illuminating from the sun. But you have to remember, her base state, when disconnected, is dark. Sometimes black, sometimes a deep blue, kind of like the very edge of a flame right where it meets the wick. The entire goal of this massive cosmic system is to ensure this moon remains fully illuminated by the sun, sitting securely under constant, unbroken divine oversight. Section 4.
Fluctuations of lunar light.
Now, this dynamic builds into something even more profound. You see, this cosmic moon isn't just static. It operates on a highly functional cycle, dictated by spiritual forces. According to texts like Periot's Chime, there are deep, precise mechanics to this lunar cycle. It starts at midnight, when spiritual forces align and the moon begins gathering divine light. Over a 15-day cosmic cycle, the light rapidly waxes. Day 1 represents that initial spark, and by day 15, it hits the absolute zenith. The moon is perfectly full, glowing in brilliant silver and white, providing maximum protective light to the entire universe. But then, a siphoning begins. Over the next 15 days, creeping toward day 30, the light wanes, and we see a distinct color shift. It goes from white and silver down to blue, then to a dull gray, and finally to a highly vulnerable black. And this brilliantly illustrates our dual-level analogy. For those of you thinking in terms of cosmic engineering, when the moon wanes, the system enters an unmonitored state. The other side, the Sitcha Akra, the realm of chaotic external forces, actively attempts to drain this light. Now, for a younger mindset, or if you're a gamer, think of it literally like a video game. When the moon waxes, you are standing completely inside a safe, glowing zone where your health regenerates, perfectly protected. But when the light wanes and those shadows creep in, you are wandering outside the map into a dark, highly dangerous area full of enemies. Diminished light equals intensely increased vulnerability below.
Section 5. Human Action and Cosmic Impact. So we bring this massive cosmic architecture directly down to human behavior. Because you see, this system isn't running independently of us. It's quite the opposite. Our actions directly dictate the state of this lunar interface. The Midrash HaNelam shares a really powerful warning, quoting the verse, Hen Yerat Hashem hi chokhmah. Behold, the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. But in this mystical context, fear doesn't mean just being scared, not at all. It means awe and precise, careful alignment. True wisdom is consciously choosing to remain within the protective, supervised firewall of divine light, avoiding any deviation into the shadows.
Notice the stark contrast here on the screen. On the left, aligned action keeps your soul perfectly tethered to the monitored safe zones. But on the right, look at the consequence of anger and sin. The text specifically highlights anger. When a person gives in to rage, it metaphysically uproots their holy soul from the divine network and exposes them entirely to the Sitra Achra, that other side.
The person actually says a person who does this torf nafsho apo, tears his soul in his anger. So the crucial point is this. Stepping into anger isn't just a bad mood. In our cosmic engineering terms, it is literally logging yourself out of the protective light and downloading a foreign, chaotic entity straight into your system. The Kabbalists equate this specific action to literal idolatry because you've replaced the divine gaze with a chaotic, unmonitored force. You have completely exited the safe zone.
Finally, Section 6, Maintaining Divine Alignment.
So, how do we recover from that? How do we ensure the system remains stable? And what is the ultimate lesson for us as individuals? Well, the grand secret, the sod, of all these texts is that humanity is the key interface for the divine flow. We hold the numbers 1 through 10 in our very actions. Our positive, deliberate actions powerfully maintain the maklah, that primordial balance we talked about way back at the beginning. The cosmic moon, Malchut, has no light of its own, which means the light it reflects is entirely, 100% dependent on us. It reflects our exact state. When we are aligned, it shines a brilliant, protective white. When we are fractured, it fades to black. We are uniquely responsible for the stability of this cosmic balance. If our daily actions directly dictate the light of the cosmic moon, what frequency are you broadcasting to the universe today? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.